of them, and only about 150 are inhabited. Some are ancient, some are modern, some are wild, some are laid back. They're all hot. Some are holy, some are hedonistic. They come in every shape and size. They are the Greek islands.
Around the blue waters of the Aegean and Ionian seas, the Greek islands are one of Europe's favorite holiday destinations. My first Greek island is Hydra for the celebrations of the Miaoulia festival. Then I travel to the holy island of Patmos before retracing my steps to the mainland and catching the ferry to the party island of Mykonos and the ancient island of Delos. Next I visit the volcanic island of Santorini and the largest Greek island, Crete, before ending my journey at Gavdos, Europe's most southerly landmass.
A boat called the Pink Elephant. I just took a quick taxi ride from Athens airport to here, and I'm supposed to meet a boat and a group of people who've chartered it for the weekend to go to Egypt for this festival. I finally found them, and this is Panagiotis, this is Yanni, and that's Alex. If I really went like that really fast, oh, like that!
Just wanted to show you my very, very cozy, comfortable cabin.
Hydra is only 32 miles from Athens, which makes it a very popular weekend haunt for rich Athenians and their yachts.
This is great. Not only do you get to arrive on a yacht, but you kind of sleep on it and you live on it, so you don't have to worry about a hotel. You don't have to arrive with your heavy backpack and try to find a place to stay. This is definitely the way to go.
For a couple of days each year, though, everyone who's anyone comes to Hydra for the Miaoulia festival, including the President of Greece.
Thank you very much. It's a wonderful place. Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Wow. Thank you. I just shook the hand of the President of Greece. Golly, what a great start to my trip.
The Miaoulia festival celebrates the fight for Greek independence from Turkey around 1800 and takes place every year in June.
There are no cars, no mopeds, no transportation, except for yellow taxi boats and donkeys.
It's usually a quiet little place until the festival starts.
The sun is going down, the people are starting to come out. It's going to be a great festival, yeah?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a great festival.
A very great festival.
Yes.
Hello. So this is where they're hiding. Those are the girls we saw dancing earlier. Hello. When is it starting?
Soon.
The islanders dress up in period costume and a boat is taken into the harbor for a mock sea battle.
Okay, this is it. They're starting. They've got the flares. They're going to dance. The revolutionaries are taking off.
Be careful.
And I'm going to get caught on fire. Oh, yay. They are the revolutionaries. They're going to sink the Turk ship now. They're following the flag. Oh, too much excitement.
This burning boat represents the Turkish fleet. When Idra was fighting for independence from the Turks around 1800, they would send small rowing boats packed with explosives among the Turkish warships.
This is the big bullet!
When the explosions die down, the town begins the celebrations, and there's dancing in the streets long into the night. This morning it seems that most of Idra is sleeping off its hangover, but time I set off to continue my journey.
So, first of all, this island's really barren, so they have to import most of their fruit, vegetables, as well as their water gets delivered. No cars, only 2 dump trucks. So you gotta push that whole thing. Whew. I don't envy you. Duxy, okay. I'm just kind of hoping to get a free watermelon out of the deal. Hey! There's my boat! Okay, now, I'm headed to Patmos, and it's a pretty long journey. I have to go from here back to Athens. Then from Athens, I catch a flight to Samos. From there, I catch a ferry to Patmos. And it's almost this far away from Turkey, just on the opposite side of where I am.
Patmos is one of the Dodecanese islands. The name means 12 islands, but there are actually about 17 inhabited islands in the group. There is an extensive flight network which connects many of the islands to the mainland. The flight to Samos from Athens takes an hour and costs about $50. But traveling by ferry has always been an essential part of the Greek island hopping experience, and it's the only way to get to Patmos. One of the prettiest islands in the Aegean, Patmos is also seen as a sacred place to many Christians, and there's been a monastery here since 1088. The monks have always been influential in the running of the island, and consequently it has remained very peaceful.
Most people visit Patmos just as a day trip. They visit the monastery, they get back on their boats. So it actually has a really laid-back, sleepy town feel. I like this. One thing on the islands, you kind of got to go with island time, especially a place like Patmos. Very laid back, no fast food. Hello? Just here to have a coffee. Hello? Can I have one Greek coffee? Parakalo. Parakalo, please.
Παρακαλώ, ένα Greek coffee.
I'm going to try the Greek. Elinikos cafe.
Ναι, παρακαλώ.
Parakalo, metrio.
Μέτριο.
Metrio, metrio, a little bit sweet. Her father originally came from Houston, which is why it's called Cafe Houston. And she has fantastic old pictures of kind of JFK. And she's in this calendar, so she's kind of a local celebrity. Yeah, I just stumbled upon this place. I love it when that happens.
The thick, strong Greek coffee is a national drink, although it's actually a legacy from the Turks when Greece was part of the Ottoman Empire.
Not only do you get an incredibly strong cup of coffee, rather gritty, that will keep you awake for, 24 hours straight, you also kind of buy a ticket to sit in the cafe for a few hours, watch the world go by, relax, hang out with the suave gentleman with the gardenia in his hand. That's us.
Like most of the islands, nobody here seems in any big rush to do anything. They cook, they eat, they herd goats, and some of the men go fishing for octopus.
Octopus is on just about every menu, cooked in just about every way you can imagine. So I thought I would go out and see how they catch it with Sozos, and he kind of does it a very traditional way. I'm going to see how he catches those suckers. Woo! All right.
The best way to catch octopus is to get down in the water and search them out. Luckily, they like the calmer waters of the harbors and can be harpooned or just picked up by hand. Sozo is one of the few working fishermen on the island of Patmos, and he sells his catch to local restaurants. Ha! There, you've got octopus on the brain. This is such a fantastic creature. You gonna hand that to me? Oh my God! It's so creepy. Will you look at that? Hey, come here, little sucker. Oh my God, when he starts to get you with those, watch this. Okay, sucking, sucking, sucking. I'm gonna put him down here. These octopus can fit into incredibly small little holes and escape really quickly, and I'm very impressed he was able to find one. Oh, he just juiced. After drying out the octopus in the sun, it's ready to cook. It's hot enough here already, but now we have the fire going. We just gathered stuff from around, and we're gonna grill the octopus directly on the coals. 8 legs. 4 for you, 4 for me. Way! The octopus is finished cooking, and he's just rinsing it off, but more, not really to clean it as much as to get the flavor of the salt water onto the tentacles. This is it.
Ella.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you eat the whole thing, suckers and all? Yeah? Hot. Wow. Very salty. Octopus tentacle grilled, kind of like a hot dog, but healthy and good, fresh from right out there. Caught it ourselves. So I'm out in Patmos for the evening, and after my very bonding experience with that octopus today, I'm very keen on trying the different ways they prepare it. I'm just gonna wander around and see what I find. The Greek people like to have dinner late at night and preferably outside. The specialty of this house, the octopus pancakes. Use a little lemon. It's very, very good. It's not fishy, it's not chewy, it's lovely. I'm just gonna see how this place serves their octopus. Very strong tentacle there. Let's see, this is octopus with onions. Very good. It doesn't taste like squid, it tastes like a little bit like tuna fish, and it is a great tomato sauce. I like it. Hey, great, and for dessert, octopus ice cream, of course. Yes. This is the path that leads up to St. John's Monastery. And Greeks come from all over, as well as Christians from around the world, to see the spot where St. John the Divine heard God's voice. Patmos is known as the Jerusalem of the Aegean, as it's the only place in Europe where God is supposed to have appeared on earth. St. John was exiled here in 95 AD and heard the voice which prompted him to write the book of Revelations. The cave that was his home is now the focal point for pilgrims. Apparently, the voice of God was so loud that it cracked the ceiling and broke this part into 3 main lines. To the Greeks, this symbolizes the Holy Trinity, and so when they pray, they hold their fingers in 3 to resemble this. Now over here is where St. John the Divine would pray. He would rest his head on this rock and hold himself steady with this. He was very, very old at this point. Some say well over 100 years old. So he actually dictated the final book of the Bible, which is known as the Apocalypse, to a disciple who took it down right here. always a mad rush to get on the boat. This is kind of the motion everybody does. Kind of shuffle along. Wham! Over 6,000 ferries sail between the Greek islands each month, carrying just a few of the 12 million foreign tourists that visit Greece each year. I'm retracing my steps back to Piraeus to catch the ferry to Mykonos, because the direct ferries from Patmos are quite infrequent. The last leg of the journey from Samos by plane. Piraeus is the biggest port in Greece, and in the summer it's besieged by tourists. Get there early, particularly if you're going to a popular island.
Sorry. After you. Mykonos is kind of like the Santorini, I guess, of the island. This is a big holiday weekend. Hello.
It's a 6-hour ferry journey from Piraeus to Mykonos and costs about 5,000 drachma, which is roughly $14. Mykonos has a reputation for being glamorous and expensive, but there are cheaper hotels and you can spend whatever you want. But this isn't a family holiday place. People come here for the wild nightlife and the beaches.
You can get a bus to the beaches here. I'm headed to Paradise Beach. It sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Hello. I feel very lucky to have gotten a seat because what they do is the buses leave about every half an hour, but they don't leave until they're completely packed full of people. Pretty cheap though. It's only about 50 cents, 250 drachmas. It takes about 15 minutes to get there. But appreciate having the seat.
During the day, the town is quiet as everyone heads for the beaches. The best beaches are on the south coast, so it's worth making that extra effort. Generally, the further away you go, the more extraordinary your fellow beach bums will be. If you want to get away from it all, you can rent a motorbike for about $30 a day and get the freedom of the island. About 4 miles from Mykonos town on the north coast, you can find some isolated spots where hardly anyone comes.
This is a great beach. And I asked the local earlier for a recommendation for a place that wasn't quite as busy and crazy as Paradise Beach. And he recommended this. It's called Aegean in Greek, and it's named after a quaint little church just up on that hill. So after the long, hard day I've had, I thought I'd come and unwind with everyone else, watch the sun go down, sit back and relax.
The pace here is pretty relentless. If you want, you can start dancing at noon and go on until 6 in the morning.
It's just now starting to roll. It has a really great, hip, trendy gay scene, which kind of sets the pace for everybody else. It goes on all night long, at least as long as you can handle it. So.
You have, take a look.
The gay club scene attracts people from Italy, Austria, Germany, Britain, and all over the world. The clubs are small and packed, but the party vibe brings the whole of Mykonos town to life.
I'd heard that the winds in Greece could be strong, but I have never experienced anything like this. In town, they said it's gale force 9. The ferries are canceled. I'm going to be here for a few more days.
The streets of Mykonos town are too narrow for cars, so it's a peaceful place to walk around during the day.
This is Petra, and he's very famous here in Mykonos. Kind of has a center stage, and he really likes this man.
Oh, look at that. So docile. Ooh, hey, buddy. He doesn't like Americans very much. Oh, no, he's just yawning.
Okay.
He was? You think something's gonna fall from the sky? Oh, so soft. Yes, sir. Does he smoke? No, no. That can't be good for a pelican. He said no to smoking. Good bird. Although it's illegal to buy antiquities in Greece, you can pick up plaster copies virtually everywhere. Mykonos is pretty touristy, so you find a lot of this stuff around. They even make these replicas of very famous statues. They even have Discus Dude, and they've got all of the gods and goddesses, so you could choose your favorite one to take home. I'm kind of partial to this one, Aphrodite. Proudly display that on my mantle at home. How much is this one? To see some real ancient Greek sites, you can take the 20-minute boat trip from Mykonos town to nearby Delos. The birthplace of the god Apollo, the tiny island was a sacred site, but soon became a wealthy, independent, free port. This is Delos, and is one of the most important cities from ancient Greece. It dates back about 5,000 years, and it's fantastic because you can wander around and get a sense of what life must have been like then. Thousands of years later, most of the walls seem just kind of barren stones. There are places like this where the original plaster remains and even some of the original paint, so you can get a sense of how vibrant and gorgeous it must have been then. This is one of the most incredible mosaics that I've seen here. It's actually covering a cistern, and it's made of 2 million small pieces that has that kind of classic Greek key, which is the geometric design that looks three-dimensional because of the depth of the colors. And each of those stones is actually a little piece of blue stone or a piece of red stone. The main theme are the dolphins, which are in a race, and the winner is over there in the corner, and it has a gold ring in its mouth. Fantastic. Up to now, only a third of the island has been excavated, so under these hills there are countless other mosaics and statues waiting for future generations to discover. Greece has a treasure trove of archaeological ruins to explore, and my next stop, Santorini, has more than its fair share. The ferry from Mykonos costs 3,600 drachma, which is about $10, and the journey is going to take about 6 hours. The ferries are very slow, and you'll spend a lot of time on them, but travelers find different ways of adapting. And what about tips for surviving long, boring rides?
Book, CD player or anything, reading, trying to get some suntan, but not too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really good because you get to know people here, which you meet at the island too, so you can make first friendships.
On the top deck, there's a roof where you can get when it's too hot and the sun is too hot.
Oh, this is great. On the big boats, they even have video games. Oh! Sleeping is a very popular activity on board. Everybody seems to have their own style. My tip, earplugs. It's really loud on these boats whether you're sleeping or not. Much better. And if it's a rough sea, you may end up spending a lot of time in here. Oh my gosh, are you okay? Everybody said you had to see Santorini as you entered from being on top of the boat, and it's fantastic. What happened here was around 1650 BC, one of the largest explosions that ever happened to the planet happened right here. Magma shot up 22 miles into the sky, and it created a tidal wave that went all the way to Israel as far as Crete that was 80 feet high. And now it seems quite calm, but it looks very precarious with all of the houses kind of on the edge, kind of just waiting in case fate happens to them again. The towns of Santorini are on the top of the crescent that once formed the steep sides of the volcano. It's a unique site in the Greek islands and one that makes it a very popular destination. Each day, hundreds of people arrive on the ferries, just a few of the 500,000 people that visit each year. Not surprisingly, the port is well geared up to help you find somewhere to stay.
Market here. There are so many places offering information and kind of soliciting for you to stay at their place. One suggestion is to go into a place, check and see where it's on the map, make sure it's close to where you want to be. Okay, one moment. Thank you very much. I'm going to look around a little. No problem.
How to get from the port to the top of the hill is the next big decision.
There are 587 steps from the bottom to the top, and this used to be the only path that led from the port up. Now there's a cable car and a very rough road, but I'm a traditional kind of girl. I'm gonna go old style. I just feel really guilty about the weight.
Santorini has the most unusual buildings in Greece. Clinging to the sides of the cliffs, the houses are whitewashed and stunning to look at.
Welcome to my room. It's a little bit posh, a little bit expensive, but it's really unique in that when all of that lava finally settled on Santorini, some of the rock was soft enough, yet substantial enough to kind of build their homes out of. So on the side of the cliff, this was once a stable, but now it's a really lovely hotel room. There's all these lovely nooks and crannies. Even my closet was kind of dug out of the side of it. It's very cool on a hot day. It's kind of warm on a cold day, but it has an excellent view.
Pretty beautiful, yeah? It's also interesting because from here you can see the different layers of the rock. So down at the bottom it's more red and there's the black layer, but at the top is the solid white one where they could create places like this to live in.
Although they are now scarce, it's still possible to find natural sponges in the waters around Santorini.
What are you doing to that?
I'm trying to trim it, to clean the bottom of it because they're freshly cut.
Freshly cut? Where did these come from?
These are the local ones, not the import ones.
Ah.
Okay. This one here, first of all, it's so strong, you cannot tear it. Pull
Can
it.
I see that? Ready?
Pull it.
Right on. Okay.
You can lift the Rolls Royce with this one.
This is true. Why are some of them really light colored and some are very dark?
Well, this is the natural color, and this one is treated. It's bleached. Because some people prefer the lighter color in the bathroom, but it's not as strong.
Could you cut my hair for a $5?
I'll do it for free.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This town of Aegean, believe it or not, in 1956 was completely destroyed and turned to rubble by an earthquake. Since then, architects have come in and rebuilt it in pretty much its original plan.
When the volcano ripped apart the island 3,500 years ago, the main victims were the Minoans, who at the time were the most advanced civilization in Europe.
This is the ancient city of Crete, and it was only found in the late 1960s, but it was buried beneath about 120 feet of ash from the big volcanic explosion. Look at that! These pots are still intact, and you can even see the artwork on them. One thing I like about this place is that it's still a work in progress. Archaeologists are running around, still finding pots and pans and whatnot. See, that vase lying on its side is in the exact same place and same state as when they began to excavate this place. And these over here were really used for storage, and they were not found intact.
they kind of puzzle piece them back together, including the two little bathtubs at the front. Oh, this boulder must weigh, I'd say about 2 tons, and they spewed forth out of the volcano, traveled a couple of miles up in the air, and rained down on Crete, causing incredible destruction. I'm just trying to help the guy moving over there. This city existed 3,500 years ago, and it's actually very similar to the center of Santorini today. These buildings were 2 and 3 stories high. The first floor would have been used as a workshop or a store, and the second one would be where the people lived. There are 3 beds that they found when they began to excavate. What it shows here is because there are 3 of them, very neatly stacked, one on top of the other, that they knew that they were leaving. They were hoping to come back. They kind of hid some articles that they wanted to preserve underneath. But little did they know they wouldn't be coming back. And speaking of leaving, I've got a boat to catch at 7 o'clock to take me to Crete.
It's too early in the morning for me, but got my ticket. I'm headed to Crete. Only about a 3-hour ferry ride. That's not bad.
Crete is a very popular destination with over 2 million tourists visiting each year. The largest of the Greek islands, Crete has developed its own independent culture. I'm taking the ferry to Heraklion, then I'm going up the coast for a little active adventuring.
Yeah! Are we headed to that small island?
It was a leper colony before.
It was a leper colony?
Yeah.
What's the name of the island?
Spinalonga.
Whoa! I love it.
1, 2. It's not far.
With over 600 miles of coastline, water sports are very popular here.
When we get the rain.
Wow! That was very exhilarating. I thought it was going to be kind of a slow ride out. Looked really calm.
So we'd like to go for a stroll on the island.
Yeah.
All right?
Yes.
When the Venetians ruled this area, they built this fort here in around the 1500s to protect these 2 bays from attack. And this fort was so strong that no one was able to conquer it. It even took the Turks 50 years longer to conquer this part than any other part of Crete. And it's going to take me that long to get up here. The Venetians have left their mark all over the island in the shape of forts, public buildings, and monuments. And the port of Hania has a Venetian quarter crowned with beautiful buildings dating from the Venetian occupation, which lasted from 1210 to 1669. Buildings. A lot of them have been renovated and turned into hotels and restaurants, but the original Venetian architecture still exists. Some great details. Hania is known as the Venice of Greece, and fortunately, these buildings are all protected by a government decree. Crete has been invaded many times by the Romans, the Turks, and most recently the Germans in 1941. At Suda Bay near Hania, a war cemetery still attracts a steady stream of visitors. The invasion of Crete by the Germans was the largest airborne military assault in history. 22,000 paratroopers landed on the shores of Crete, and within 10 days, the British, New Zealand, and Australian forces were driven out. Originally, casualties from the battle were in 4 separate cemeteries around the island, but after the war they were all brought together here to Suda Bay. And it's really quite sad because many of the tombstones are for unknown soldiers. They were only able to tell what country they were from by the color of their uniform. Of the total Commonwealth force in Crete of 32,000 men, 12,000 were taken prisoner and 2,000 were killed. The Germans also suffered huge losses, and nearby there are the graves of 4,500 German soldiers. The main resistance to the Germans came from the shepherding people in the mountains of central Crete, from villages like Enoia, which were completely destroyed by the conflict. Today, the people are very proud of their fighting spirit, and they still wear the traditional outfit of leather boots, black shirts, and black headscarves out of respect for those who died defending their way of life. In these areas, the men have pride in their appearance and carry on the Cretan tradition of growing impressive mustaches.
Look like
The men have a fantastic mustache.
fantastic mustache.
Why? Why everybody?
Tradition for the Greek people and especially for mountain people.
For mountain
we have
people.
mustache. It's the best.
You have many handsome men and mustaches.
Man without mustache here is no good.
No good. You have to have them.
Rural here, it's no good. It's very bad thing here. Especially old people.
Why does everyone still wear black?
Everyone have black here because it's a pain. Everybody have pain from the war. Everybody have lost people. Everybody, all of this. 2, 3, 4, many people. And now black.
The pain has lasted a long time, yeah, from the war.
From the last war with the German 1944, everybody black here. Everybody have lost somebody.
Why is he throwing that card down so hard?
Because have a nice card now. It's sure for himself and for the card.
He's confident.
Yeah.
He shows his traditional fighting spirit even
Very,
now.
very traditional man. And remember all of them, the war time.
Every house in Enoia seems to have a little workshop where the women take the wool and make rugs in the traditional way. It's like a sheep. This is just one of many, many places to buy these fantastic embroidered rugs and crocheted tops. And the legend is that after all of the men died in the war, the women had to support themselves, so they started kind of crocheting and selling everything that they made. I see. This is for everyday use. Yes. Why is she laughing at me? Is your dog? George Skoulas has lived here all his life. His father was a folk artist who discovered a talent for painting and sculpting when he was in his 50s. Until then, he had run the town's main cafe and raised 5 sons. His work has become the subject of a museum, and if you ask at the cafe, George or another one of his sons will show you around. George was telling me that he was 8 years old when this happened. This is when the Germans came and burned down their town. The women and the children were taken to another village, but the men were up fighting in the mountains, and if they were caught by the Germans, they were executed. And their entire town burned down, except for 3 churches, which were used by the Germans as a storehouse.
Το σκέπασε ένα σύννεφο. Γύρισα στο βουνό, μ' αυτό καθόλου δεν με ανακούφισε. Τη στιγμή εκείνη μια γυναίκα περνούσε σε μια βάρκα. Έλα σου λέω. Μέσα στην καρδιά ζει.
One of the highlights of a trip to Crete is the chance to walk the Samaria Gorge. Samarian Gorge, it's 8 miles down. 8. It's beautiful, well worth it, but long, about 5 hours. And they're coming with me, Radula and Harula, right? So we're off. Oh, gosh.
Well, we're going down the gorge, and it's actually one of the nice areas where you walk below the pines, you can smell them.
Yeah, it's nice. It smells so clean.
The Samaria Gorge is the largest in Europe. During the summer months, several thousand people each day will walk the gorge, each paying about $3 for the experience. Even in the summer, it can be surprisingly cold when you start your walk at 8 or 9 in the morning.
This time of the year, while in the middle of winter, it's a river.
Really?
Well, yes. And look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
In winter, the gorge is closed because snowfall from the mountains causes a river to run through it and make it impassable.
This is bizarre. What are all of these things? I know they're rocks, but...
Well, they are rocks. People who are working here, they just put one on top of the other, you see?
That's amazing. Look at all of those.
A temple was recently discovered which dates occupation of the gorge from at least 2000 BC.
Lovely, lovely cold water.
The gorge gets its name from the Church of Saint Maria, or Samaria, which was at the center of a village which was abandoned when the gorge became a national park in 1962.
Millions of years ago. You can hear the water?
Oh, the gate?
Oh, yes.
The gate. The gate means the end of 8 miles. My dogs are barking. That means my feet hurt. But it's incredibly beautiful. I think you might even call it gorgeous. Yeah, it's a bad joke, I know. Gorgeous, darling. It's gorgeous.
From ports near the end of the gorge, like Horosvakia, you can take the ferry to the tiny island of Gavdos. The boat takes 4 hours and carries passengers and supplies to the island's 50 residents. Even in the summer, the island only gets a handful of visitors and hardly feels ready for travelers at all. Located about 50 miles south of Crete, Gavdos is the most southerly landmass in Europe and only 250 miles from Libya.
This boat to Gavdos is pretty much the lifeline for the islanders who live out here. They bring even their petrol over from Crete. Only, I think, 45 people live there year-round. And this man is not only the captain of the boat, but also the president of Gavdos. Hello, Mr. President.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine.
Smooth sailing.
The arrival of the ferry is quite an exciting event. They only cross 4 times a week in summer and once in the winter months.
I don't know why, but I love this place already. This man is the bus driver as well as a shepherd. It's a duality of a small island. Making the love.
You can sleep on the beaches in Gavdos with no problem. In fact, you may be forced to because there are no hotels and less than 20 rooms for rent on the whole island.
What place is this?
Aegianis.
Aegianis. Anybody for Aegianis? I'm going to be your assistant. Next up, Aegianis!
Legend has it that this was where Odysseus was shipwrecked and spent 7 years under the spell of the beautiful Calypso, who fed him on aphrodisiac berries, which you can still find all over the island.
This is the beach I've been looking for. It's called Agios Yanis, which is St. John's Beach. And it is so divine, especially, I think it's like 100 degrees out here today, and it is mandatory that I go in there.
If you keep traveling directly south from here, the next place you hit is Libya on the African coast.
This is literally the very tip of Europe, just on the end there. And Gavdos feels like it probably felt walking here 3,000 years ago. Well, I have finally found a place that's not overrun by tourists. At first, it's kind of overwhelmed by the number of people that were everywhere, but you can quickly see why they go where they go. Either it's for a gorgeous beach or wonderful architecture or this ocean or for the antiquities. Now, that is probably what I've loved the most, learning about the Minoans and kind of seeing where European civilization began. And even here, Gavdos, I love the story and the fact that Odysseus was shipwrecked here and he couldn't even tear himself away after 7 years. I feel the same way.
Και το σκέπασε ένα σύννεφο. Γύρισα στο βουνό, μα αυτό καθόλου δεν με ανακούφισε.